Hello and welcome to another Cork and Taylor Wine Podcast. Luke Taylor here, and I'm with a very special guest. Before we get to him, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. As you say, we like to pass and share wine. Pass this podcast on to some of your wine friends. And also, if you like us, love us, you want to get me out to wine country, join our Patreon page at www.patreon.com, Cork and Taylor. Oh, we're going to talk. We're going to have some fun. Probably one of the most, if not talented, I can't speak, talented winemakers in Napa is a gentleman by the name of Aaron Pott. And we've got Aaron Pott on the podcast again, live. I guess we're not live because this is taped from Napa. And you're, I like the one record on the top, your back left. Which one is that one? Can you just turn around and
Cumbia
yes.
record. Yeah.
Yes.
There.
Is that the Kumbaya? No, Cumbia.
Yeah.
Oh, Cumbia.
Cumbia, yeah.
Beside a very good winery from Bordeaux, a nice wine box. So, Aaron, welcome back to the Cork and Taylor Wine Podcast. You were one of only three people to be dumb enough to come back on the podcast. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you. It's great to be back.
Yeah, great to be back. Great to be back. So you are a winemaker, as we know, and you consult for how many wineries now? Is it still at like 35?
No, not even close. Let's say 11.
11. So
Yeah.
would you say you're doing more than Kirk Venge?
No, I think Kirk's doing more than I am, actually.
Yeah. Do you guys have like a friendly competition?
No, I mean, we have a friendly friendship, but
Yeah.
Kirk has been known to me as his nickname from high school, which is the Vanilla Gorilla.
The vanilla. Did you? We had a guest of ours and a supporter, Angela Nadeau, says, "Ask Kurt about the Vanilla Gorilla," and he laughed. He laughed. So, but so what's going on in Napa? I mean, we're in middle of February now. I can't believe it's February 2024. What is your? I guess in the off season, because it is the off season for you. I mean, every season's the same season in winemaking. What are you doing in February, other than sitting and talking to me?
Well, I mean, what we've been doing mostly is cleaning up after Stormageddon. We had a huge series of storms that came in, what we call atmospheric rivers, that dump a ton of rain on the valley. And we've been pretty much cleaning up after that. A lot of downed trees around the vineyard, a lot of downed trees on roads. So we've been working on cleaning up, getting the water to go in the right places, and getting ready for the next storm that looks like it's going to come in next weekend.
At least it's not a firestorm.
Yeah, no kidding. And it will make it so we don't have hopefully a firestorm this year.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
rain's been good in the last couple of years, so
How was the 2023 harvest in your opinion?
Fabulous. I mean, one of the better harvests in the last 20 years, maybe. Really good vintage 2023. And following a challenging vintage in 2022 with the intense heat that we had at the end of the growing season, but also following a great vintage 2021.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Very pleased with that.
There's a thing called water and air conditioning. We have an abundance of it in Ohio.
Yes.
I'll send you some. I'll send you some.
Yeah, no, you might need some.
Do you notice? So I was out in Napa a couple months ago, and do you feel there's obviously an issue? Okay, so wine sales across the board have declined. 20s and 30-year-olds are not drinking wine like maybe you and I drank wine and still do drink wine. Do you feel like the Napa style is kind of changing to more of a sweeter style, maybe? I guess I'd like to put it.
I think, I mean, I think people are trying to make wines more approachable as young wines. I think people are also concerned about alcohol levels in wines. And so you're seeing people more conscious of shooting for lower alcohol levels in wines.
I call
So
those, I call those, I don't call those people friends.
I mean, I think a little more balance after the excessive wines of the 90s and early 2000s might be a good idea.
Hmm.
And I think, vintages like 2021 and 2023, they're vintages that have such nice acidity that the wines, regardless of their alcohol levels, are very fresh, very vibrant wines because of that wonderful acidity that they have.
Yeah. Yeah. Has your style changed over the years or not really? You pretty consistent. I mean, I know it goes vintage to vintage per se, but stylistically, have you kind of changed your focus, your philosophy?
I don't think so. I mean, I feel like my philosophy has always been to focus on the vineyard and to try to figure out what that vineyard wants to produce naturally in terms of wine and respect that, and try to find the best of what we can produce from each vineyard. And it's not so much imposing my own style on it, but trying to find out what the natural style of that vineyard is and to promote that natural style.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I just feel like some of these Napa properties, which will go nameless, have kind of changed their style. And Paso too, and Sonoma to kind of capture a broader audience than doing it more, puristically. That's a word,
Yeah.
puristically. Is that
Yeah.
pretty good?
Yeah,
How,
I,
how,
I
yeah.
I think so too. I mean, as there are 64 different additives that you can put into wine now other than grapes. And
64?
yes.
What are some of the most popular? What are some of the most, I guess, the strangest?
I mean, I think in the strange category, lots of coloring compounds. We have this some people use this thing called mega purple.
Ooh,
It's essentially grape concentrate, that's been extremely concentrated and is extremely sweet, and it adds both sugar and color to a wine. I mean, all sorts of gum arabic, guar gum, and so on that bring weight and density and flavor encapsulation to wines. So there's,
wow.
I mean, any number of things, mano proteins that can bring umami flavors to wine. It's like adding MSG to your wine. So all sorts of things.
Are any of them, or is there any of them you like more so than others?
I mean, I don't use any of them, so
Yeah.
it's
Well, that's a good answer.
yeah.
Good answer. So I heard about Mega Purple a couple years back, and
Mm.
it's because and I'm not going to say what wineries or what have you, but it seems like more wineries are kind of using, not more, I'd say more than usual, are using that kind of additive. And it obviously creates some. I mean, you add these additives to create consistency, correct? But your job as a winemaker is to make the best wine, and it's going to be different every year, correct?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm shooting for, but I think a lot of people are looking for consistency, and consistency isn't part of agriculture, really. We're looking to produce the best wine in any year from a property, and that isn't consistent because you have different years every year.
Yeah, yeah. And you also have teenage girls. I mean, they're inconsistent, correct?
I mean, surprisingly enough, mine are incredibly consistent. I can't believe how consistent they
Yeah.
are.
Well, maybe you're not the consistent one then. You're the inconsistent one, huh?
Well, both my wife and I were very worried because we were both terrible teenagers that we were going to have very difficult teenage girls on our hands, but they've been very easy thus far.
Yeah, someone's shining down in you or something like that. Now, with your consulting winemaking, has any of your, and you don't need to say who, whatever, any of your kind of wine owners, directors, managers kind of changed their style over the years? Or has it been pretty consistent? It's been pretty consistent.
No, it's been incredibly consistent. I mean, most of my clients have their own vineyards, and I think that's a key factor there. They have their own vineyards. They're running their own vineyards. They're making wines from out of their own vineyards, and I think that's the real key to the consistency. I mean,
Mhm.
they're trying to make the best product they can out of their own vineyards and trying to make it unique to that vintage.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
uh, because I'm overseeing the vineyards as well, it makes it so we can bring you something unique every vintage.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So as you know, I mean, you can read all the reports and stuff like that. 2 weeks ago, we had a friend of mine, Larry O'Brien, a master somm, and really, really likes numbers and stuff like that. So it's very interesting. And as a distributor, I see the trend. I mean, our wine sales have gone down. You're kind of seeing that across the board. I'm sure you see it. I don't know if you saw it with your own winery, Pott, with yours and your wife's winery, or some of your consulting clients. What do you think is going to change? One, because prices have gone up, costs have gone up. How do you keep kind of that not prestige, but kind of that what word am I looking for? Kind of that spotlight on your brand or other brands. I guess what are you going to do, or what are you doing differently, if you are, than you have in the past?
I mean, not much, I have to say. I don't think we're doing
Again,
any
that was horrible.
we're doing anything differently. We're trying to consistently make great wines from expressive vineyards every year, and I'm hoping that will appeal to new consumers. I mean, the idea of wine is an old one. It's been with us for maybe over 10,000 years, and I I think we're experiencing a change in the consumer, going from, older consumers to younger consumers, and younger consumers need to find what they like in the wine world and find how to consume wine. And I think we've kind of pushed wine as sort of a singular beverage, where we're drinking it just by itself. And we need to get back to the point where wine is an accompaniment to food. And,
Right.
and I think that once people see how good an accompaniment it is to food, they will come back to it.
Yeah. But I guess how does the broader population, the industry, do that? Because I think, like you said, it's a very singular thing. But if you look at the European culture, which you're obviously familiar with, there's always food and there's wine. It's never wine or food, it's food and wine. How do we kind of grow that and nurture that?
Well, I mean, I love the way the French do it. Every year when I was working in France, we had a group of kindergarten kids that would come to the winery, and they would taste taste different things, taste grape juice, taste wines. They would work in the vineyard and become a part of it. And they were developing their sense of taste very early on
That's
in
crazy.
order that they could be better tasters.
Yeah.
And I think it was good for their brains. I think it was good for their senses. And I wish we had more programs like that here in the United States.
I mean, you should push that. I mean, do you think any schools would I mean, I can only imagine my boys might never leave, you know?
We used to play a game with our kids where we would give them a sip of wine if they could tell us three things that the wine smelled like. And very early on, my youngest daughter was incredibly good at it. And I remember opening up a bottle of a red Corton from Burgundy, and she smelled it and said, "It smells like cherries. It smells like Burgundy." Not knowing what it was, totally blind. But for her, the idea of Burgundy had become a smell, that was associated with Pinot Noir wines. And I thought that was extraordinary that you could train your kid at such a young age to understand what made the difference between a Burgundy and a Bordeaux, for example.
Right, right. Does she still have that kind of keen sense?
Yes, yeah, very much so.
Yeah. What about the other daughter?
She's not as good. She's not as interested, let's put it that way. I mean, I think the younger daughter was very keen to look at wines, and the
Yeah.
older daughter was not as keen. So,
Yeah. Do you see either of them getting staying or I guess getting or staying in the wine industry?
I mean, both of them talk about it. We'll see.
Yeah.
I, I'd love to have some help one day.
Yeah. You can actually pay people. There's people that are probably willing to work for you or
Yeah,
trade in wine.
yeah.
So it's kind of interesting. So you're seeing a real big shift the last couple years of wineries getting out of the business and selling to, um, you know, investment companies. What was the one that Schaefer sold to? Like a Taiwanese,
Korean.
yeah, Korean. Aren't they like mall developers or like they own a mall or malls or
I,
something like that?
I don't know what they do, but I know they're Korean.
But they do something, right?
Yeah, we've had a
So
lot of Korean investment actually. One of the wineries that I work for, Seven Stones, was bought by a Korean company, Hanwha. And then there's been a lot of French investment, which is unusual. You have LVMH that bought Phelps recently, and they already owned Newton Vineyard and several others.
yeah. Do you see more of that going on? I mean, I guess it's kind of natural progression.
I mean, I hope more of it's gonna go on. I mean, I like to see the outside investment because it tells me that there's, people see a future in Napa Valley, and that they're willing to invest. And when you have a luxury good company like LVMH buying wineries in the Napa Valley, as opposed to buying wineries in Bordeaux, I mean, it tells you something about the quality of Napa Valley and the
Hmm.
future of Napa Valley. I mean, I think they have studied that. They certainly know what the future is, what future they want to see, and
Right.
they're spending a lot of money buying properties here. So that's gratifying. I'm not selling mine, but it's gratifying to see that.
Yeah, the potential is there and what have. Do you think that will change kind of the culture of Napa, bringing some outside influence, especially the French that know really how to do things when it comes to the wine industry?
I don't think it will change the Napa ethos. I think it's such it's so ingrained in us to be who we are, to be helpful to each other, to be cooperative and so on, that it's more that people come in, they buy wineries, they come in, and then they realize, everybody's pretty cooperative around here. We should be the same way. I've only seen a few examples of that not working out.
Yeah. Yeah. No examples, but that's okay. Yeah, there's always a couple. There's always a couple. So what are some, I guess, give me some funny winemaking stories. Some that you had challenges with, maybe you made the wrong thing. I don't know. Just what are some good, like, either you or some of your colleagues, some funny kind of winemaking stories?
Well, I mean, we're always trying to make wines for ourselves, because there's always something a winemaker wants to do on their own, for themselves. And I call these things pour ma gueule wines, which pour ma gueule in French means for my face, essentially,
Mm.
for my mouth, but in a very derogatory way. And so we make these pour ma gueule wines, and one of the ones I've always wanted to make is a naturally sparkling wine. And so every year we try to make a naturally sparkling wine, and pretty much every year we make about 5 cases of a naturally sparkling wine just for fun. And it never goes anywhere else but inside the winery. So we
Okay.
tend to drink the whole thing by ourselves, mainly because we're not very good at making it.
Oh, I was gonna say, is it any good?
it can be challenging, Luke. Let's say it can be a bit challenging.
Yeah. I mean, what is the big challenge with it?
I mean, getting it to the right level of sugar where you put it in the bottle to get the sparkle right, to get the bubbles right. And sometimes we're good at it and sometimes we're bad at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
so focused on all of these other things that are going on with the real wine that we're making that
Right.
this kind of takes a back seat, and we don't focus on it as much as we should, I think.
Would you call that a passion project?
Yeah, I think it's a fun project.
Yeah. I love when people um say it's a passion project.
And I mean another thing that we have that's kind of it's been sort of funny since the last harvest is um I do a Pinot Noir, and it's from Anderson Valley, and it's a really beautiful vineyard that's east-facing vineyard that faces right towards the Roederer estate. So
Okay.
you have this west-facing vineyard that's the Roederer estate that's making sparkling wine, and we have an even cooler site that's making dry Pinot Noir from this vineyard, Elsvik Vineyard. And every year I do a stem inclusion. It's about 50% stem inclusion. And then every year we foot stomp it. So somebody gets on top of there with clean feet and starts stomping it down. This year I had a French intern that worked for me, a woman by the name of Camille. And I took a film of Camille treading on this Pinot Noir cap, and I posted it as a reel, and I didn't think anything of this. Posted it as a reel on Instagram, and suddenly it kind of went viral. This thing all over the world, and I don't know if it was because Camille was wearing shorts or if it was the fact that the place that it went most viral in was the Middle East. And people were not only titillated by Camille's shorts, but they were sort of disgusted by the fact that somebody would actually work with a product that you drank with their feet. And so I had to insure about 100,000 devout Muslims that, in fact, Camille's feet were incredibly cleaned, and why would it be different than her hands?
Well, but it's also it brings a point up. It's like going to the pool and you're supposed to shower before you go in the pool.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, how many people really shower before they go in that pool?
Not many.
Exactly. Just
I'm one of
saying.
them. I shower before I go in the pool.
Yeah.
But I mean, literally, we washed her feet so thoroughly and then got her on the top of this Pinot Noir, and she was in there, and we got so many comments. I can't tell you. I mean, I'm over over 1 million people watched this little video.
Holy cow.
Yeah, it was mad.
Yeah. So now you got to just keep up to that million viewers again, right? What's your next TikTok expose?
I don't know. I think maybe I'm not going to wear any shorts anytime soon. That
Yeah, you
will.
should. I mean, I've seen some of your other outfits, you know.
I think it was John Kongsgaard that said that I was the worst dressed winemaker that he knew.
Wow. Hopefully he knows more than one or two winemakers.
Yes. Yes.
Hey, how did the are you still going to make pot smoke ever again?
Not unless we have a intense fire
Not jinxing anything, not jinxing
that
anything.
that doesn't affect us. I mean, that was kind of the idea behind pot smoke was that we had so many wines that were smoke tainted in other vineyards, and our vineyard was kind of so far from where the fires were. It was the only vineyard that wasn't smoke tainted. But I didn't want to have to explain that to everyone. We were one of the few people that made a non-smoke tainted wine, that I thought it would just be easier to put it all into one wine and sell it as pot smoke.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you taste many 2020 wines of other people's?
I did, yeah.
What is your overall kind of opinion?
I mean, I think there's so many wines out there that are smoke tainted, but there's also some good 2020s. I mean, we had a, Perlis vineyard for us. One of my clients for about 17 years now, they produced a wine in 2020 that was absolutely fabulous
Hmm.
and totally smoke free, even though they were very close to where the fires were.
Yeah.
And, and I've tasted lots of great wines from 2020, but
Hmm.
it just depends on where you were. And then, we out of our 11 clients in 2020, only a couple of them made wine. So
Wow.
there weren't a lot that avoided the smoke taint.
Yeah. It kind of leveled it out though for inventory because I feel like 2021 was it 2021 was no, 19 was a bigger crop, wasn't it?
19
And
was
then
a big vintage, yeah. I
yeah.
mean, 18 and 19 were incredible vintages. And then, I went up to my house on my estate vineyard on August 16th, and it was in perfect condition. I thought, oh my gosh, we're gonna have three great vintages in a row. And then the 17th was the first of the fires. And then late September, we had the second of the fires. And so
Yeah.
kind of 2 straight months of just smoke in the
Yeah.
valley.
Yeah.
And
What
then
would
we
you
had 21, which was such a great vintage.
Yeah. Yeah, and 2022 was pretty good too.
2022 is,
Okay. Yeah.
okay. I mean, it was really the heat in 2022 that was difficult to deal with.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. What would you say your biggest challenge is as a winemaker? And then also, what is your biggest challenge as a winery owner?
I mean, for us, we don't our smallest challenge is selling the wines. I mean, the wines sell very quickly direct to consumer. So that's one thing we don't have. Um, I think the biggest challenge is for people to find us. We're a really small producer. We're making less than 1,500 cases of wine.
Oh,
Most
wow.
of it, most of it's all estate vineyard produced, and it's all handmade. It's just getting our name out there, getting the
Hmm.
Pott name out there more than anything else.
Yeah. And they're all, I like how you said handmade.
Yeah, I mean, literally, I'm doing all of the punch downs on the wines, so
Hmm.
I mean, really super handmade.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
we're doing
That's
all the
impressive.
work during the harvest. We have a wonderful facility where we make all the wines of our clients that don't have their own wineries, and it looks like a ugly warehouse on the outside and a James Bond bad guy hideout on the inside. It has all the bells and whistles of everything you would want in a winery.
Yeah. But it's also safe because people aren't going to break into it because they'll be like, man, this place is awful.
Yeah, it does look terrible from the outside, I must say.
Yeah, but you know what? It proves the point that looks can always be deceiving and never judge a book by its cover,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So
Exactly.
why 1,500 cases? I mean, is that kind of like your comfortability level? Is it something because everybody says like, oh, I want to make 100,000 cases per se, Why? I mean, is 15, I mean, have you always kind of, is that like kind of the sweet spot, kind of churn and burn, like bring it in, sell it, move on to the next one?
Well, that's kind of what the properties we have produce. So
Hmm.
it seems like just the right size for me. I can make it. It's easy to sell at that size. I mean, it's easy to focus on at that size that we can still do everything we need to do by hand. We can still grow everything by ourselves.
Hmm.
So it's kind of the perfect size, and
Yeah.
I don't see ever changing from that size.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, especially if it makes sense and it's controllable and profitable, why wouldn't you? Can you believe there's like 1,000 wineries with the name Napa Valley on them. I think it's like 1,000 wineries that
Yeah.
have the Napa. Isn't it nuts?
Yeah. That's a lot. It's a
Yeah.
lot for sure.
How are they all making it?
I don't know. I think some of them aren't making it.
Yeah.
And I think that as we mature in our love of wine, we're going to see more of what makes Napa Valley great and what makes Napa Valley not great. And I think people are going to discover those sites that are the great sites of Napa Valley, and the sites that are not the great sites, hopefully will return to some other crop.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many. We have, 33 different distinct soil types. We have a myriad of different climates here. It's a great place to grow grapes.
Yeah. 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 I mean, it definitely is. And I mean, that's why, people go out there. That's why people live around there. I mean, it really is, phenomenal. What is the last question? What is the one varietal you think is going to take off in the next year or two from Napa?
Mondeuse. No, kidding.
Myrta
I
or
mean,
Mondeuse?
I think we're in a real explosion of Cabernet Franc right now. I mean, I see a lot of Cabernet Franc being planted around Napa. I mean, people are making better and better Cabernet Francs in the valley. But what I would like to see is I would like to see more Rhone varieties coming out of Napa.
Just
And
drive 2.5 hours south to Paso. You'll find them all.
yeah, exactly. But I think Napa Valley is a great place for growing Syrah. I think it's a great place for growing Mourvedre. I think it's a great place for growing Grenache. And
Mhm.
I think those varieties will rise in the future.
Yeah, and I'm seeing more wineries kind of plan an acre of this, acre that. One in particular is Michael Keenan. His son Riley wants to kind of play with the spice rack, play with some different stuff. I believe they did plant Mourvedre, and some other kind of unique. Because I mean, let's be honest, everybody knows Napa is one thing, Cabernet, right? I mean, uh,
Yeah.
and obviously you can only drink so much Cabernet in a day. I'm sorry, I love it, but you know, um, so
And
yeah.
I mean, Cabernet it's a great variety. It's a variety that's not super terroir specific in that you can plant it in a lot of different sites and it will produce a great wine, especially in a climate like Napa Valley.
Mm-hmm.
But Cabernet Franc is exactly the opposite. It's very terroir specific. It only produces great wine in certain sites. It really is. It needs good drainage. It shows exactly where it's planted. If you plant it in a bad site, especially on the valley floor, in deep soil, it's going to produce something disgusting, and you don't want to see that.
Yeah. So whenever you're picking out your next Napa Valley Cabernet, make sure it's not Valley Floor.
Cabernet Franc.
Well, Cabernet Franc, same damn thing, right? No.
There's great
Um,
Cabernet Franc from the valley floor too, but it's certain sites, benchland sites, sites with good drainage.
yeah,
But it's hard to grow Cabernet Franc in deep clay on the valley floor.
yeah, yeah. I can only imagine that one. Aaron, you got anything else to add? You want to pinpoint something, say something, promote something?
Um, I just want to add that next year we're going to release our first wines from the Legier Meredith vineyard.
Ooh,
The legendary Dr. Carol Meredith, the grapevine geneticist that gave us all the origins of grapevines. She and her husband, Steve Legier, have given us their property to continue the legacy of those great wines. And so we're going to be releasing new wines off of their property that we made in 2022 for the first time. And I'm pretty excited about it. I mean, I'm loving the Syrah from off of their vineyard, and I've helped them plant their vineyard in the 90s, and I'm
wow.
very excited about finally being able to make those wines.
Yeah. Now,
After,
will they be under their label or your label?
they'll be under our label, but a new label under our label.
Oh,
That's going to be Legier Meredith Vineyards pot wine.
oh, cool. Okay. And how,
Yeah.
I guess what kind of different varietals? I mean, can you say that? How much will
So
you produce?
they grow Syrah
Yep.
mainly, but they also grow Zinfandel that they call Tribodrag, from the old name of Zinfandel when it was
Mm,
in Croatia where it originated.
okay.
And they make Malbec and Mondus.
Mm,
So we're gonna release Syrah, a Zinfandel, and a Mondus from their property.
wow. Okay. Will it be big production or is it kind of just like,
Tiny production. I'm
yeah.
200 cases of Syrah and
Okay.
one barrel of Mondus.
Yeah. So it'll be
And
more than your sparkling.
yeah, yes, more
Will it be
than the
better than your sparkling?
yes, a lot better.
Well, I guess we'll have to try next time we're out. But Aaron, thanks so much for joining us on the Cork and Taylor Wine Podcast. We always love having
Pleasure.
you. Yeah. And don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. All you listeners, pass it just like you share a glass of wine to your thing. And we'll be back about a week or two with another great Cork and Taylor Wine Podcast. And keep drinking the good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.